I actually got started in archery whenever I was 3 years old. My parents owned a sporting goods store. So I just kept seeing people running around the shop with bows, and I was just like, so they didn't make a bow small enough for me back then. So I went out in the woods and I got a little stick, and I took a string, I made a little stick bow, and that's kind of how it all started. And I just, whenever I was 11 years old, I shot my first world competition, and I actually won the IBO World Championship whenever I was 11. I kind of look for something that's really, for me, I like to have a high holding weight. So like if I'm shooting 60 pounds, I like to be holding like, around 20 pounds or so for me. That's because I'm like a lot stronger in the back wall. So for me, that's something really important. I have to have a nice, steady draw. I don't like a hump in the draw. Like whenever you draw the bow, like it feel like a hump. I like to just be steady all the way back and then have a high holding weight. And that's the main reason I choose a Matthews, because my Matthews is adjustable for that. You can go down to 70% let off all the way up to 80% if I want. I actually do it all. I actually shoot all the NFAA that's indoor, all the indoor, like 3-spot, Vegas, NFA Indoor Nationals, Iowa. I went to Nîmes, France last year. Like I kind of do all of it. And I shoot the ASA 3D circuit, and I do all U.S. archery, able body, and para. So I'm pretty, I'm always doing something. Like I'm getting ready to leave tomorrow for London, Kentucky, ASA. And then I come back from that for 2 days, and I head to Chula Vista, California. The best piece of advice I ever got was, probably, just stay humble. Know how you got there and why you're still there. I still remember Rio Wild telling me something back whenever I was younger in the sport of fetal archery, probably like 2008. He told me, he said, when you've made it in the world, he said, when you're great, everybody knows. Whenever you're good, you tell everybody. He said, whenever you're one of the greats, everybody knows. He says, so stay humble. And, that hit me big whenever I was a kid. Rio Wild told me that. We was at the Gold Cup in New Jersey, and it was one of my first big USAT tournaments, and I ended up taking second place. I lost to Dave Cousins, and he was like, listen, he said, just stay humble, and whenever you're one of the greats, everyone will know. You don't have to talk about it. So that was something I was like, it kind of, I've lived by it. That's what I've lived by forever. Just never take anything for granted, and just keep digging. Okay, so normally I'm pretty extensive in Olympic years. So like I've been shooting, every day I shoot at least 200 to 300 arrows. So and I know there's a lot of people that take a break, but like, I shoot 6 out of 7 days, 200 to 300 arrows. If it's a rest day, I shoot at least 2 full matches. So I at least shoot 128 arrows. I just keeps my body, I just try to keep my body, where, a lot of people, if they don't feel good, if they, so like whenever you travel and you go overseas, you go to other tournaments, just the food you're eating, time change, whatever the case may be, I try to train and shoot on every different environment I can. So if I don't feel good, if I get a headache, if I'm hungry, if my stomach hurts or whatever, I try to shoot. If it's raining, I shoot. Like our last day of the trials, we got rained out. We shot for like 5 or 6 hours in a downpour, but I practiced in it. So I know where my equipment would hit whenever the harder the rain, the longer we shot in the rain. You kind of know what your equipment does then, so that's why, that's a lot of my practice regimen. A lot of people, when it's raining, they take a break. Whenever it's too hot, they take a break. When it's windy, they take a break. If you practice in these elements, then you don't get caught up in the moment whenever you're there. Okay, so leading up to tournaments, I usually hit it really hard the week before, and then like a day and a half before the tournament, I'll take my practice and I'll just slow it down. So instead of shooting like a couple hundred arrows before that, I'll slow it down. I'll shoot like 150 arrows or less for the last day and a half, just to let my body, recover real well. And then I'll try to eat some carbs. I'll have like pasta or something like that the day before. And then, going forward, moving to the games, I'll kind of like look at the weather. Like it's kind of crazy, but I'll look at the weather, what kind of weather they're getting, what kind of wind they're getting for like a 10-day stretch before the games. just to kind of see what it's going to be there, and then maybe acclimate myself here, or, change my shooting schedule here for a different temperature, or look for the windier parts of the day here just to see if I could, reenact those kind of things. And the best thing to do is like practice individual matches, so that, like, for me, match plays, qualifications, all right, it's neat whenever you shoot a high score, but games and, tournaments get won by elimination matches. So I try to put my mind in that environment every time. Every time I shoot that arrow, I try to play like I'm shooting for the gold medal. The ideal practice regimen for a beginner would be, start out basic. Like I tell people this at my sporting goods store, like whenever they start and they want to get into competitive archery, don't overdo it. Come down there, plan on shooting 30 good arrows. That means 30 shots exactly the same way. It's all about repetition. Start out at 10 yards. Once you can put them all in the bullseye at 10, then let's move to 15, then move to 20. If you keep shooting 30 arrows consistently the same way, and just, it's all about progression, but it's all about, learning it the right way. That's the big thing for me. It's all about repetition and starting out with, don't overdo it. Okay, so my story is kind of funny. I think I'm one of the only athletes that's in the top tier and even the pro class that I've never had a personal coach. I've never had a trainer. It's kind of, my father and my mom were very good archers, and, I learned a lot of that from my dad, and, the mentality part of the game is just something that, I don't know, it was just whenever I was younger, I just I thought outside the box, like I wanted to know why I missed and where that arrow went in a certain place. And for me, being self-taught, it's just a big thing of like that. That's why my mind's so strong. That's why whenever people build up with nerves before a match, see, I don't really do that. I focus on me. I know if I do my shot process and I do everything right, it's hard to beat. So if I do my stuff right, that's all I need to do. And then I worry about, the win or the loss afterwards, that you don't really think about it, but that's just the way it was with me. I never really had a coach, and, I just was self-taught, and it's all about mindset. It goes to show people, it doesn't matter who has more money than the next. If you have the will and you have the drive, you could do anything. Okay, so for me, the basic part of my form is, I start, like I tell everybody, like building a house, you got to start from the foundation. You can't build a good house without a foundation. So you got to start. So for me, being in a chair, I got to make sure my chair is a certain exact way. It doesn't matter what the placement is, a little incline, whatever. I make sure my body's aligned from the bottom. Once that's aligned, I make sure that I put my hand in the bow the right way every time. Then it's all about the draw cycle. I stare at the top of my cam to make sure my string doesn't torque in any way. So I draw back, I stare at the top of my cam, make sure my string's in line. Then I come down on my anchor. Once my face hits the string on my nose and the corner of my lip, I'm staring through my peep sight at full draw. So that's a big thing for me. It's all about shot process. I worry more about my form and repetition of doing my draw cycle and everything exactly the same, more than I aim at the middle. I tell everybody it's a lot easier hitting the middle than it is doing it the same every time. The hardest thing is once you get those little steps down pat, that's the biggest part of the game. This is probably about the best mentally I've been in my life. Like last year, I had a really good year, and last year was just a build-up. Just every tournament I shot last year, every arrow that I fired in tournament was prepared for this. And like I said last year, whenever I shot at the Pan American Games and I won the gold over there, and we won the team gold, and I broke some records and that, my job's not done. Like, I had a really good trials. I won our trials, and I shot really well, and I shot really high scores through every elimination matches and the senior and the pair trials. And, it's just a building block. So like mentally right now, going to 2016 games, Rio, going to Tokyo, it's all about learning something. Even though I didn't win those games, I learned something. And anytime that you learn anything, that's a win. So moving forward to the games, I know what I need to do. I know the little things that I might have thought differently of whenever I was there, and I know how to adjust for them now, and I've learned that. So going towards the games, I'm excited. Mentally, I'm better than ever right now, and I'm excited. So the most exciting thing I'm ready to see is that gold medal around my neck. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of my teammates that are talking about going to see the Eiffel Tower, I have one job. Like, this is a cool experience. There's nothing more important to me whenever I go out there, and I'm still like that little kid whenever I first went in 2005 and won a world championship in Spain. There's nothing more important whenever we go out there for opening ceremony and, our flag's raised and I'm wearing our, country's colors. For me, that's the most exciting thing about it. All the other stuff, it doesn't mean as much to me. It's cool, seeing different countries and experiencing different culture and stuff like that. But like, for me, representing the USA and going after the gold, that's what I'm excited about, and I look forward to see lots of great accomplishments by the rest of Team USA. And that's what I look forward to.